Good morning, students. Today I'll be starting a new chapter, which is chapter 13, Organisms and Populations, from your unit 10. This is the last unit of your syllabus. Okay, the last unit is ecology. Okay, I am skipping few chapters because I feel for the chapters that I am skipping, direct face-to-face interaction is very much important. That is the reason the chapter which can be taught easily through online classes, I will be dealing with those chapters here. Okay, so let's begin with this chapter, Organisms and Populations. Before getting into the chapter, we should know what is the meaning of this term ecology. What is meant by ecology? Ecology is a branch of science which deals with interaction between organisms. Okay, interaction among organisms and interaction between an organism and its physical environment. Okay, ecology is nothing but it's a branch of science which actually deals with how two organisms interact with each other and how this organism interact with its physical environment. Okay, there is always an interaction between organism and organism. Okay, this is one type of organism where this is one type of interaction where one organism interact with another organism. There is one more type of interaction where one organism interact with its environment. Okay, so branch of science which deals with this type of interaction is known as ecology. We can read from this sentence. It is a branch of science which studies the interaction among organisms, that is interaction between two organisms and between the organism and its physical environment. Okay. Now, Ramdev Mishra is referred as father of ecology in India. Okay, this person known as Ramdev Mishra is known as father of ecology in India. Now, ecology is basically concerned with different level of biological organization. Okay, what does ecology teach us? Okay, ecology mainly deals with different levels of organization in the environment. Okay, what are those level of organization? Now, when we talk about biological organization, we think about body organization. When we talk about body organization, it starts with micro and macromolecules. This micro and macromolecules together they build a cell. Okay, this cell here you can see I have mentioned here. Okay, the basic level of organization is cell. Okay, when cells aggregate or many cells come together, they form a tissue. When when tissue, there is an aggregate of tissue, it forms an organ. Okay, when multiple tissues come together, they form organ, any particular organ of your body. When many organs come together, it forms a organ system. Okay, so the multiple organ system in a person's body, multiple organ system makes an organism. Okay, so when multiple organ system comes together, it forms organism. Okay, now the organism leads to population. Population leads to community. Community leads to ecosystem. Ecosystem leads to biome. Biome leads to biosphere. Now we have studied about cells, tissues, organ system in our first year class. Okay. Now this is the basic level of organization. Now here I have mentioned different levels of organization. So the levels of organization begins with cells, ends with biosphere. Okay. So cells are the basic unit of class, body organization, if I have to say. Now these cells, tissue, organ and organ system, till these four are referred as basic level of organization. Okay, lower level of organization I can say in other term. Okay, cells, tissue, organ and organ system can be referred as lower level of organization. Okay, now what is the higher level of organization? The level of organization could be of two types. Basic, lower level of organization and higher level of organization. We can also refer it as lower level of classification, higher level of classification. So cells, tissues, organ and organ system forms the lower level of organization. Okay, whereas starting from organism, population, community, ecosystem, biome, ending with biosphere, from organisms to biosphere, this can be considered as higher level of classification. Okay, so these are the different level of classification, where from cells to organ system, they are lower level of organization or classification. From organism to biosphere, they are higher level of classification or organization. So in this chapter, as you know, the chapter itself is organism and populations. We will study what are organisms, what is the population, okay, and what is their interrelation. So this is the level of organization, as you all know. Now in this chapter we will be starting with this level of organization known as organism. We will be dealing with all the levels of organization starting from organism. Okay, we will deal with organism, population, community, ecosystem, biome and biosphere. So let's begin with organism. Now you know, in the level of organization, till here it comes the lower level, and from organism the higher level of classification or organization begins. So now let's see what is an organism. So this is the level of organization in ecology. As you can see, starting from organism, population, community, ecosystem, biome and biosphere. These 6 levels of classifications are known as, you forget these, the classification from cells to organ system because they are lower level. Starting from organism till biosphere, it is referred as levels of organization in ecology. Okay, in ecology, the levels of organization starts from organisms. It does not start from cell, tissue, organ system. It starts from this organism level. So what is an organism? Every individual of a particular species. Okay, if we are talking about human beings, we all human beings belong to one particular species. So we are one particular organisms. Okay, so every individual of a particular species. If you want to take human beings, we all belong to one particular species. We are Homo sapiens. So all the individuals belonging to this particular species are known as organisms. You can take, for an example, a dog, a cat, a mouse. Okay, all the organisms belonging to one particular species can be referred as organisms. Organism is the smallest level of ecological hierarchy. Okay, you have studied hierarchy. When you go step by step, it is known as hierarchy. Okay, in your first year classes, you have studied taxonomical hierarchy, where it starts with species, it goes to genera. Okay, similar way you have studied the taxonomical hierarchy, like kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. Okay, you have studied the different levels of taxonomical classification. That's known as hierarchy. Okay, from a kingdom is the uppermost level of organization. It's called as higher rank. Then comes the phylum, then comes the class, then comes order, family, genus, species. That is a taxonomical hierarchy. When we are talking about ecological hierarchy is nothing but it starts with organism. It goes to population, then to community, then to ecosystem, then to biome, then to biosphere. So this is also referred as ecological hierarchy. Okay, you're going from the smallest level of organization to the highest level of organization. So this is known as ecological hierarchy. Now, let's talk about, so organism is the smallest level of ecological hierarchy. I told you, ecological hierarchy starts from this organism. So it is the lowest level of ecological hierarchy. Like species is the lowest level of taxonomical hierarchy. Organism becomes the lowest level of ecological hierarchy. Okay, then comes this term population. What is a population? Sum total of all the individuals of the same species in a specific geographical area. Okay, so when we take, I told you, every individual belonging to one particular species is known as, it is known as an organism. For an example, we all belong to the species known as Homo sapiens. Every individual belonging to this Homo sapiens species can be considered as an organism. Now, when many organisms come together and they live in a particular geographical area, it is referred as population. Okay, many organisms belonging to the same species, when we come together in a particular geographical area and live together, this is referred as population. Sum total of all the individuals of the same species in a specific geographical area. Okay, next we will move on to the, so we are done with organism, we know what is population. Let's see what is a community. Community, assemblage of all the population of different species present in an area that interact among themselves. It is of three types: plant community, animal community and microbial community. Okay, I told you we all belong to this particular species known as Homo sapiens. Every individual is known as an organism. When many Homo sapiens, they come together and they live in a particular geographical area, that is referred as population. Now, when we live as a population, we cannot live alone. Okay, only one particular species will not be present in a particular geographical area. We will live with different population also. Okay, which are those population? We will live with other plants. We will live with other microbes. Okay, we will live with other animals. Okay, and they belong to different species. When we all come together, people of different population come together, people of different species, they come together in a particular geographical area, that is referred as community. Community cannot refer only to a particular species or only to a particular population. Community involves multiple population. Okay, we live with dog, cat, mouse, horse. Okay, we live with so many other organisms, other species. We live with multiple microorganisms. We live with multiple plant species. When we all together live in a particular geographical area, that is referred as community. Let's read it again. Assemblage. Assemblage means group of all the population of different species present in an area that interact among themselves. We do not only we live together, we interact among them, among each other. There is an interaction between every population. We interact with plant. How? We take oxygen and food from the plant. That is a kind of interaction. We may not directly go and verbally interact with the plant. However, we are interacting with the plant through one or the other process. Okay, similar way, microorganism. We interact with microorganisms. Microorganisms enter our body, they live in association with our body. Okay, there is a type of interaction between us. That means one population and another population. So community can be three types: plant community, animal community and microbial community. Then we will move on to the next level of ecological hierarchy, which is ecosystem. Okay, till here we were talking about only living organisms. See here, organisms, population and community, all these three levels of ecological hierarchy refers to only living organisms. Okay, that means we can say it is a biotic component of a, we can generally refer to it as a biotic component. Biotic component means any living organisms comes under this biotic component. It could be plant, it could be animal, it could be microorganisms. These three levels of ecological hierarchy, organisms, population and community, till now we knew that only living organisms interact. So we were talking about only biotic components of a particular geographical area. Now we should know that not only we living organisms live together, we also live with non-living factors. Okay, not only living organisms live in a particular geographical area. For us to survive, we also need some non-living factors. We call them as abiotic factors or abiotic components. Biotic components are any particular component which has life. Okay, abiotic components are the components which doesn't have life. Okay, we can also call it as biotic factors, abiotic factors. But in biotic we can include plants, animals, microbes, everything. In abiotic we can include many abiotic factors which we will study in detail. Now let's look into the explanation for ecosystem. The sum total of all the biotic and abiotic components of a particular geographical area which are integrated through exchange of energy and recycling of nutrients. Okay, if you look into the explanation till here, it is more than sufficient. Till geographical area, it clearly explains ecosystem means it is in a geographical area. Okay, in a particular geographical area, when all the biotic and abiotic components come together, it is known as ecosystem. Okay. Now, the next level of ecological hierarchy is biome. Okay, what is a biome? Large unit of flora and fauna in a specific climatic zone. Okay, ecosystem, when we say it is a bit lower level of lower level of organization in ecology, biome is still larger or still higher than ecosystem. So here you see, here we are talking about only one particular geographical area. Okay, the geographical area in which you are living. However, biome refers to a particular climatic zone. Okay, biome refers to a specific climatic zone. In this climatic zone, whichever organisms are present, all of them together are referred as biome. Here you can see large unit of flora and fauna. What is a flora? The whole plant community is referred as flora, and all the animal community is referred as fauna. All the living animals coming under, they come under fauna, and all the plants, they come under flora. Okay, so when in a particular specific climatic zone, when it considers in a specific climatic zone, all the flora and fauna living in this particular climatic zone can be referred as biome. Okay, biome is larger than ecosystem because till ecosystem we were talking about geographical area. Okay, it was a very small area when compared to biome. Biome is a larger area because it refers to a particular climatic zone itself. Okay, and all the flora and fauna growing in that particular climatic zone are considered as biome. Let's look into some example for biomes. Arctic and alpine tundra. Okay, you know what is tundra? Tundra is a region where the subsoil is completely frozen. Okay, tundra is a particular region on earth where the subsoil is completely frozen. That is the reason large trees cannot grow in this particular area. you will find only very small plants growing in this particular climatic zone. Okay, there won't be any growth of larger plants because the subsoil is completely frozen. The roots cannot penetrate deep into the soil. So this particular region of earth, region present in our earth is known as tundra. Okay, there are two, Arctic and alpine tundra. Coniferous forest. Okay, coniferous forests are a kind of, they are also referred as biomes. Temperate forests. Okay, they are also referred as biomes. Grassland, any grassland is referred as a biome because here you can see they have a particular climatic zone. Coniferous forest, temperate forest, grassland, everything they have a particular climatic zone. Tropical forest, okay, here I have mentioned coniferous forest, tropical forest and deserts. These are the few examples for biome. Okay. Then we will move on to the last level of organization in ecology, which is biosphere. Biosphere means all the ecosystem of the world are collectively called as biosphere. Okay, here you can see very clearly. You know what is ecosystem means. In a geographical area, when biotic and abiotic components come together, it is referred as ecosystem. All the ecosystem of the world together are known as biosphere. Okay, so biosphere carries all the ecosystem of the world. This is a collective term for all the ecosystem of the world. Now I am sure you know the difference between all the levels of organization in ecology. Let's move into the next topic, which is organism and its environment. Okay, this is a very small topic where we will be studying about how we get different seasons. Okay, as you all know, we do not have a single season throughout the year. The seasons change, in a particular year in 365 days. You might be knowing what is the reason that these seasons occur. There are different seasons in a year. The reason for distinct seasons in a year is rotation of earth around the sun and the tilt of its axis. Okay, as you all know, our earth, our planet earth is always revolving around the sun. Okay, and you also know the earth rotates in its own axis while revolving around the sun. Okay, while rotating in its axis, the axis of the earth is little tilted. Tilted when I say up to an angle of 23.5 degree. Okay, up to an angle of 23.5 degree, the earth's axis is slightly tilted. That is the reason, the amount of sunlight that falls on our earth's surface, okay, that especially to the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, it differs. Okay, so this is the reason we have different climates. Here you can see rotation of earth around sun and the tilt of its axis cause annual variations in the intensity and duration of temperature. Okay, as I told you, since the earth's axis is little tilted and it keeps revolving around the sun, okay, the amount of sunlight that falls on this earth differs. Okay, so there is a variation in the intensity and duration of temperature. Okay, with what intensity sunlight is falling on the earth and for how long it is falling on the earth's surface, it differs. Because of this difference, we have different seasons. Okay, so we have this is a reason which results in distinct seasons. Okay, also this variations in temperature. Okay, when earth is revolving, since its axis is tilted, not the whole surface of earth gets the similar type of sunlight from the sun. That is the reason the temperature varies throughout the earth's surface. So that is the reason we have different seasons. When the northern hemisphere is getting more sunlight, the southern hemisphere is getting very less sunlight. So, so where sunlight is falling more, there will be summer, and in the opposite direction it will be winter. When the earth revolves, okay, what happens is the sunlight becomes less on the northern hemisphere and it becomes more on the southern hemisphere. So, the vice versa happens. Okay, so this is the reason we have different seasons. So, this annual variation in the temperature, that means throughout the year the temperature of our earth changes. Annual variation. Okay, through different seasons we have different temperature. This is known as annual variation in temperature. Throughout the year the temperature won't be the same in our earth. The temperature changes throughout the year. Along with this, there is annual variation in precipitation. Precipitation means rain and snowfall. All these together they form biomes. We have studied what are biomes. Okay, so what is the reason for the formation of these biomes? Okay, how these biomes were formed? The first reason was this annual variation in the temperature and also annual variation in precipitation. Precipitation means there will be rain and snowfall. You know that throughout the year it is not going to rain. Throughout the year there won't be snowfall. Okay, only at particular seasons we get rain, and through in different particular in a particular season of the year we get snowfall. Okay, we will observe snowfall. So depending upon this, okay, so these are the reasons why these biomes are formed. Okay, so one reason is annual variation in temperature, that is because the earth is revolving in its tilted axis around the sun. So that is the reason the temperature changes throughout the year. Also there is annual variation in precipitation, rain and snow. Throughout the year the seasons are going to change. So depending upon the seasons we will face more sunlight, we will get rain, we get snowfall. So all these changes together they form major biomes like as desert, rainforest and tundra. Okay, so this is how biomes are formed, this is how we get different seasons. Let's move on to major abiotic factors. I have told you in an ecosystem there will be two components together, one is biotic, another one is abiotic components. When we talk about biotic, all the living community comes under biotic community and all the non-living factors comes under abiotic factors. So let's see some major abiotic factors. Okay, abiotic factors indicates it doesn't have life, but it has a lot of contribution in maintaining our ecosystem. Temperature is the first abiotic factor which is responsible for the growth of any living organisms on this planet. Okay, so it becomes a major abiotic factors. In an ecosystem, both biotic components and abiotic components are equally important. We cannot say abiotic factors can be neglected or considered as a less contributed towards maintaining an ecosystem. It is not going to happen. In an ecosystem, both the biotic and abiotic factors have to be in a balanced state. Okay, abiotic factors are also equally important as your biotic factors. So the first abiotic factor is temperature. Ecologically most important factor. Okay, it is the most important abiotic factors ecologically. Now, seasonally the average temperature on land varies. We know that season wise the temperature also on earth or on land it varies. The temperature decreases progressively from equator towards the pole and from plain to mountain tops. You all know this. When you move from equator towards your northern and southern pole, the temperature decreases progressively. That means the temperature will be more in the equator. It will decrease when we go to opposite poles. And from plain to a mountain top, you stand in a plain region and you go to a mountain top, you can feel the temperature difference. The temperature will be high in a plain. When you go to mountain tops, the temperature is going to decrease. Okay, the temperature varies from sub-zero level in polar region and high altitudes to more than 50 degrees Celsius in tropical deserts in summer. Okay, so temperature, sometimes what happens? Temperature is not even throughout our earth. Okay, throughout our globe. The temperature differs in different regions. As I told you, in your earth, in your globe, in the equator, the temperature is more. When you go towards the pole, the temperature decreases. When you stand in a plain region, in a plain, the temperature is more. When you go to a mountain top, the temperature will decrease. Okay, similar way, temperature usually is sub-zero, reaches sub-zero level in polar regions and high altitudes. Okay, if you go to any high altitude region like Himalayas, and if you go to polar region where it's completely iced, okay, in this particular region the temperature will be in zero level. Wherever, if you go to any particular desert, tropical desert in summer season, the temperature will be more than 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, you can feel the difference. There will be region where the temperature will be zero, less than zero, it will be negative, and there are regions where the temperature will be more than 50 degrees Celsius. The region where the temperature will be almost zero or minus will be region of higher altitude and polar region. Whereas if you go to a tropical forest, the temperature will be, tropical desert, the temperature will be more than 50 degrees Celsius. So that means the temperature is not even throughout the world. Thermal springs. Okay, what are thermal springs? Thermal springs are, sometimes what happens is the groundwater becomes overheated and it starts bursting out of your earth's crust. Okay, so this is known as hot springs. Geothermally heated. Geothermally means it is the underground water which is going to be heated because of your earth crust temperature. So that's why we call it as geothermally heated groundwater rising from earth crust. Okay, so the groundwater will be heated geothermally. Okay, the normal sunlight is not going to heat the groundwater. The geothermal, the heat that is present in the underground soil and the rock is going to heat this groundwater, and ultimately this water is going to rise from the earth's crust and it comes out of your soil surface. This particular water is generally known as, the rising water is known as thermal springs. Okay, this water will be hot. When I say sometimes we will be able to touch it, and sometimes it is really hard to touch it because it's too hot. And deep sea hydrothermal vents. You know what is deep sea hydrothermal vents? It is a place where there is some mineral rich fluid. Okay, we cannot say water, there will be some mineral rich fluid. They will come out of the ocean surface. Okay, the bottom layer of the ocean, sea floor, that's what we say. From the sea floor is the bottommost part of your sea, the floor of the sea. Some hot mineral rich fluid, okay, the mineral rich fluid which will be very hot, they come out, seep means they come out of the sea floor. Okay, such place in the ocean is known as deep sea hydrothermal vent. You can imagine a ocean, the floor of ocean, that is the deepest part of the ocean. There what happens is very hot, mineral rich fluid, it comes out of the sea floor. When it mixes with the cold sea water, the temperature of sea water at that particular level is very cold. When this very hot mineral rich fluid comes out of the sea floor, it mixes with the cold sea water and it forms something called as deep sea hydrothermal vents. Okay, here if you see, the temperature will be more than 100 degrees Celsius. Here we have studied in the tropical deserts, the temperature will be more than 50 degrees Celsius. However, if you go into thermal springs, I told you sometimes thermal springs, if it is coming out of your earth's surface, you will be able to touch it sometimes. However, in most of the times it is very hot. It will damage your skin, because, and also this deep sea hydrothermal vents, because hot mineral rich fluid will be coming out of the sea floor. So here the temperature will be more than 100 degrees Celsius. So all these examples are given just to keep you aware or make you understand that temperature is a very important factor. However, throughout the globe or throughout Earth's surface, the temperature is not going to remain the same. It is going to vary. Temperature can affect the kinetics of enzymes and also the basal metabolism and other physiological function of an organism. Okay, kinetic of an enzyme. Temperature can affect the kinetics of enzymes. While studying about enzymes in our first year classes, we have studied about certain factors which affects the functioning of enzymes. Okay, so the factors which will affect the rate of function of enzymes. Under that also we have studied temperature as a very important factor affecting the enzyme activity. Okay, under this topic, factors affecting enzyme activity, we have studied temperature is one of the factors which will affect the enzyme activity. Now, how temperature is going to affect the enzyme activity? Sometimes if the temperature is very high, the enzyme will be degraded, because you all know enzymes are nothing but proteins which will increase the rate of reaction. So when the temperature is very high, this enzyme activity will be stopped, because the enzyme will be degraded by the because of the temperature. So here that's what it says, temperature can affect the kinetics of enzymes. Kinetic of enzymes is enzyme activity, how the enzymes are going to function. This function of enzymes will be stopped by this temperature, because when there is high temperature, the enzymes will be degraded, because enzymes are basically proteins. Okay, when the temperature is very low, enzyme activity ceases, because enzyme requires a moderate, or what we say, optimum temperature to carry out its function. And also the basal metabolism. You know, when the temperature is low, the metabolism of our body cannot function properly, because the enzymes will not function properly. Okay, and other physiological function of an organism. The function of temperature on a human body or the body of an ape or a bird, it is that the effect of temperature is not more, because we are warm-blooded animals. Okay, the effect of temperature, if the temperature goes high or comes low, it will not affect our body activity, because we are warm-blooded animals. However, in cold-blooded animals and lower invertebrates, the effect of temperature very important, because temperature will affect the basal metabolism. Metabolism means the sum total of all the chemical reaction happening in an organism's body. It will be affected by temperature. Okay, because basically the temperature affects the enzymes. When there is high temperature, the enzyme activity will be the enzymes will be degraded, so the metabolism will not happen properly. When the temperature is cold, when the temperature is very cold, the enzymes activity ceases or stops. Again, the metabolism will not take place. Similar way, physiological functions. Physiological function means all the processes that are going inside our body, in the functioning of our body organs are known as physiological activity. This can also be affected by this temperature. Okay, so based on how temperature is controlled in a particular person's body, in an organism's body, or how a person is going to react to a particular temperature, we can classify organisms into two types. One is eurythermal, the second one is stenothermal. What are eurythermal organisms? Organisms which can tolerate wide range of temperatures. Okay, when I say wide range of temperature, the organisms, imagine an organism, it can survive in very wide range of temperature. That means, it can withstand slight variation in the temperature. Stenothermal organisms which can tolerate narrow range of temperature. Okay, that means stenothermal organisms which, if there is any higher variation in the temperature, they will die. Okay, so this is the difference between eurythermal and stenothermal. This is very important. Major abiotic factors are itself is an important question. So eurythermal and stenothermal are also important. Eurythermal organisms are organisms which can tolerate wide range of temperatures. Stenothermal organisms which can tolerate narrow range of temperature. Here wide when I say high, or narrow when I say it's low. Okay, so this is the first major abiotic factor, temperature. Let's move on to the next abiotic factor. Okay, as you have all guessed, the second abiotic factor is water. Water is also an important factor that influences the life of organism. Quality of water depends on its pH. pH is hydrogen ion concentration, salinity, the salt level of the water, and temperature of water. Okay, so the quality of water depends on three factors: pH, salinity, and temperature. The productivity and distribution of plants is also depends on water. How much photosynthesis is taking place in a plant, how much food is produced in a plant, okay, and how plants are distributed in a particular geographical area. Everything depends on water availability. Okay, now the salinity varies in aquatic environment. Salinity means the salt level or salt content, what we say, it differs in different water. Okay, if we talk about fresh water, this is the water that we drink. In the fresh water, we will find only 5% salt content. Okay, the salinity of inland waters means the water that we drink. It's also referred as fresh water. So the salinity of inland waters will be only 5%. So we can easily drink this. However, if you see the salinity or salt content in sea water, it is 30 to 35%. Okay, so the salinity of sea water is 30 to 35%. We will not be able to drink this water. However, if you go to lagoons, you know what are lagoons? They are hypersaline. That means they, this is the small places where you will find, which you will find near the oceans. Okay, a little bit separated from the ocean. They are some little water bodies. They are the word itself indicates hypersaline. Hyper means extreme or more. Saline means salinity. So in this lagoons, if you go and check the salinity, it will be more than 100%. Okay, more than 100% in hypersaline lagoons. Now, based on tolerance to salinity, there are two classifications. Okay, so depends on how organisms can tolerate this salinity. We can classify the organisms into two types. Similar to this, eurythermal and stenothermal, euryhaline and stenohaline. Haline refers to the salt content. Euryhaline means organism which can tolerate wide range of salinity. Okay, even if the salinity level changes to a greater extent, these organisms can survive in that particular water. Stenohaline organism requires a particular level of salinity. If the salinity goes here and there, up or low, high or low, then the organism will die. So these are the organisms which can tolerate narrow range of salinity. Okay, so this is the difference between euryhaline and stenohaline organism. Let's look into the next abiotic factor, which is light. Okay, light, as you all know, it's a major abiotic factor, one of the major abiotic factors. Plant produce food by photosynthesis, which is only possible in presence of light. Plants cannot photosynthesize in the absence of light.